everyone. Welcome to the pre-match. The lineups are out. We're going to bring a bunch of our contributors along the way over here to talk about the lineup, what we're expecting. A lot of nerves I'm seeing like online. So we'll talk about all that. We were talking with Mateusz only a few hours ago. Sounds like he has not moved. Have you moved?
I showered. I showered.
Well, the lineup is out. I think for the most part, what we were expecting, knowing the injuries and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
What do you think of this 11? I think this is like, by the way, a rare time where the bench looks almost better than the 11, which is odd.
Yeah, which I mean, it's a good thing to have options off the bench now. We're don't feel like so doom and gloom. So by the 60th minute, when it is still 0-0, we can look to the bench and have a little bit of hope. I think I've been seeing some people online suggesting that this might be a 4-4-2 situation with Hendo and Gakpo out wide on both sides, which would be interesting. I feel like I see more of a 4-2-3-1, maybe with Bajcetic kind of pushing up a little bit more and Hendo and Fab behind him. But I think this has got to be one of those games where Fabinho finds his form back. I think this, if any, this could be the one. So it's going to be exciting to see if he'll be able to pull some form back. I know some people worried about the Gomez-Matip partnership again, but if Van Dijk is not fit for the full 90, it's not worth taking the risk to have him sit out an extra couple of weeks. So I know, re-aggravations happen a lot. So, I mean, we just have to kind of back the guys that are in right now and hope that, hope by the end of it that it went well.
Yeah, the Kazi says 4-0 Liverpool, Hendo and Fab back to normal. Yeah, that must be the nerves talking for a guy who can't sleep and who can't eat right at the moment.
Mr. So, Darby Belly over there.
I'm hopeful as well. I don't know. I mean, so do you think it is a 4-4-2 as well? Because I still think we go old school, but you're going like really old school, I think, where you have a midfield that's just a hardworking, ball-winning type, and you're hoping your front three creates.
I for some reason, I see the 4-2-3-1 with Bajcetic kind of playing a little bit above Fab and Hendo and Nunez playing in front of him. That would be my ideal situation, I think. I know Bajcetic isn't necessarily, the attacking midfielder that can play that Thiago role necessarily, but I think he's better suited right now in that role than Fabinho or Hendo. And with Thiago being out, I don't know if anyone else in that position would make sense right now.
Keita?
Possibly, but he might be hurt. It's Keita.
Yeah, that is true. That's why I thought it was kind of like, I feel like, so okay, let me ask you this way then. Yeah. Would you prefer a 4-2-3-1 or would you prefer a 4-3-3 old school with a hard work in midfield and then let the front three do their thing?
I think I prefer the 4-2-3-1 because it's something different. I think we've been begging Klopp to do something different, and now that it looks different, we're like, oh wait, are we sure this is what? I take it back. I don't know what I was thinking. So I think in those terms, it would be exciting to see something a little different. And I think I'd be more worried about relying on the front three trying to win the ball back with this front three that we have right now versus what we used to have. So I think this is more a 4-2-3-1 would be more comfortable moving forward today than the old school 4-3-3.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, the front three is not the front three we're used to. And I think we saw it, especially in the last game. I mean, the coordination of the press, I should say, the front three is pretty much in shambles. So I don't know if we can count on them winning the ball. So you think this is going to be both teams kind of feeling each other out all game, and it's going to come to a moment of brilliance or a set piece, which the latter I'm not too thrilled about, because if it's going to come to a set piece, I don't think that's in our favor.
Yeah, I hope not. I think everyone is with me in saying that I hope this is more of a comfortable finish than anything else. Even if it's a 2-0, right, or a 3-1, anything comfortable enough where the nerves get settled quick, and then you kind of just you play comfortably for the whole game. Because if the nerves get rattled quick, it could go downhill. And I don't know if that's kind of the worst part of this is, these guys got a couple extra days off. Maybe that was a boost in morale, hoping, or a boost in stamina, whatever the case might be. You're hoping that they can bounce off of that and start off on the right foot.
That's like I mean, I was going to bring that up this morning, and I actually asked you to remind me, which you should have asked me to remind you. So
You
we
didn't ask me. You said
before.
I'm putting this here so we don't forget. I don't know. We can ask the people. Is that my fault or is that both of our faults?
I blame you either way. Regardless of what the people say, I blame you. But I mean, yeah, Club was talking about like them having 2 days off, and it was more like I don't know, like the way he worded was like, let's not see each other for a couple of days. Let's see some other people, kind of an ordeal. Does that just kind of like talk to the pressure and the stress that this team is under due to the poor form? Where you're like, you know what, just go away, just take a vacation for like 2 days.
It could be, and I think especially in today's age, where they're probably seeing so much of it on social media too, whether it's their own accounts. I mean, the Liverpool website or the actual official Twitter page, Facebook page, Instagram page, they can't even wish anyone a happy birthday on the team anymore without thousands of comments saying, "Hey, leave the team, you're garbage, what's going?" So I think if anything, it's even if the team is still getting along well, I think having that 2 days as just a mental reset could end up being very beneficial. It just sort of depends on what the reason was for. If it was because there was a lot of infighting in the locker room and no chemistry and teammates not getting along, that's a little bit more worrying than just, hey, take a couple days to regroup and kind of find yourself again.
Yeah, because I feel like if it was the other one where, it's more of trying to get the pieces to gel together and like people not being on the same page, and maybe, I mean, it happens anytime things don't go right, that kind of like creeps up because, the blame issue starts to come about. But you would think the 2 days is not going to help that. It's almost more like,
No, but
I
how
think
many
it's
days
like
do they
worse. Like if
have?
you had a job you hated, you had a weekend off, it's 10 times more to go back on a Monday when you have like 2 days off
Sure,
from it.
but they're only awarded so many days right now, right? And during the season, there's not that much time to be able to sit around and oh hey, take a week off, even though we've got a game right in the middle of that week. But
Just
yeah,
show up on Monday.
I think it's particularly maybe difficult because you have a lot of these core guys that were around for those 4 years of just brilliance, right? Just absolute excellence. And then now you've got a mixture of some newer guys who weren't around for that, but they saw that and they wanted that. And now kind of going through this little tumultuous period, that can make those new guys uneasy. And then the guys that were here, it doesn't make them feel any better that the newer guys don't feel good about this because they saw how well this team was performing and they wanted to do that. They wanted to keep that going, and now it's not going in that direction. So I mean, there hopefully it's nothing too serious about it, but I can see some little bit of like, clicky situations where it's we're the guys that were here before that were winning things. You guys came in now and we're kind of shit. So what's going on?
Yeah, what did you guys do for guys says? Yeah, like Ansa says, we need to sign more mature players, not high school players. But I think at the same time, maybe that is the issue we have. We have too
That
many mature players
that
that
was
are
the
like just
yeah.
old.
That's the problem was that we relied on that core mature group of players and never invested enough into decent depth that would have been those younger guys that could have grown into those roles. Instead, we waited too long, and now there's nothing to really replace them with or show for it. And that's something that we've talked about on this channel for years. Like, hey,
Yeah.
we need to invest in depth. But when you look at the manager who doesn't like playing a big squad, that depth would have gone to waste because they wouldn't have played anyway. So it's really difficult to stand here and sit here again and say that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. An ideal lineup will have a good mixture of both, where you have like the leadership that this team clearly has and still does, because I
Mhm.
mean, all those guys for the most part are still here. But you do need to bring, and I think maybe he means like maybe not as young as an Elliott or Carvalho, maybe like more of a, well, I mean, I guess like a guy like Gakpo who has experience in another league and stuff like that. But you still have to have like a good mix, and then you're not going to always get a proven guy because obviously a guy like Gakpo costs a lot more than Carvalho
Right.
and like Elliott. And I think the key is, and we've talked about this before, like kind of like subject for another day, but the key is kind of like taking some chances on some of these young guys and then loan them out and stuff like that, and then see if they do well there. Now you don't have to pay 50 million for him
Yeah.
because he's already yours, and you can
Have them
bring him
on your books.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you shocked, by the way? Because I know I am, about the bench, because I just did not see. I only expected to see Jota in on that bench out of all those names. I definitely did not expect to see Van Dijk. And honestly, I'm personally more excited because my biggest complaint has been the press up top and the link up front that Bobby is on the bench.
Yeah, I did not expect either Van Dijk or Bobby to be on the bench, so it's good to see that. Again, I feel like it's one of those things where hopefully there is either a comfortable enough lead to bring them on without any sort of worries, because you want to play them back into condition, but you also don't want to play them into condition when we're down a goal and it's even more pressure, necessarily more stress situation. So I think, it'll be nice to see Bobby back on. If it's the 60th minute and it's still 0-0, he might be the type of player that can break this game open along with Jota. So, I mean, if anything, it provides. I'm almost excited to get to the 60th minute, as I feel like the first half is just going to be just a dreadful dogfight, kind of not really much going back and forth. So we'll see.
So, I mean, I don't even want to put this in the universe, but just to take your brain over here, looking at that bench, I mean, you kind of like see, I mean, you kind of know how like Klopp does this. So, any spot opening where there's an injury or an early yellow card or whatever that you have to sub for, you can kind of like look at this bench and say, okay, like right back, it'll be Milner, left back,
Milner,
it'll be Milner, defensive mid, it'll be
Milner.
But let me ask you this: well, left back, I guess Costas is there, so Costas will probably go in there, but center back, if something happens like an early yellow card and God forbid an injury and stuff like that, would you expect to see Van Dijk being trotted out there, or do you think Phillips would come and we still would not risk Van Dijk? I'm kind of torn myself in terms of like what I would want to see. I mean, first of all, I would not want to see an injury. I'm just saying though, if it happens,
I think Van Dijk would go out there, because this kind of goes back to, I know I just said that you want to be careful with bringing these guys back. But if they're fit enough to make the bench, they're fit enough to play. So I guess kind of the mentality that some of us have had, forever, is if you're fit enough to be on the bench, you're fit enough to play. And there have been moments like a couple weeks ago when Nunez came on late, and we're thinking, well, why wasn't he there from the beginning? And people are like, oh, he's coming back from injury, you need to kind of slow him down, and then don't put him on the bench if he's not ready to go the whole 90. So I feel like if there was anything that happened, Van Dijk would be the first to slot in, because there are a ton of people who are, who want Nat Phillips to go in, and I think they just forget that he's not good enough. I mean, it's one thing to have him, it's another thing to play him. It's just like, I don't know. It's tough.
I think it's one of those. It's a good story, right? It's a guy that maybe everybody knows he's not. Is that the cold coffee from this morning, by the way?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, everybody knows, I think, for the most part, that he is not as good as, Konate, Van Dijk, and stuff like that. But I think it's like kind of like a good story where a guy who gets the opportunity and gives his all kind of things, just give us everything he got. He puts his head everywhere and stuff like that. But, you got to have the pace to get there, to put your head and stuff like that. So, and I think, I don't know, like if it is a 4-2-3-1, it would be more suitable for a guy like Phillips as well, for example, if the line is not that high. But I really think, I mean, depends on what happens. I know what you're saying in terms of if you're not ready to go, don't be on the bench. But I think when your physio says, I think we have one, when they say, like you can get 45 minutes out of this guy. You don't want to try them out there in the 30th minute for like in case of like a yellow card or something like that. So
and I think
kind of understand that too.
And I think it depends on what they're coming back from. Someone like Jota is coming back from a lot longer time. Then obviously I don't think he's necessarily ready for the 90. If you want to just listen to a bunch of contradictions today, just keep listening to me. It's fine. But someone like Van Dijk, who's been out for a lot less time, then that maybe makes more sense that they could go longer. The physio, whoever it is, whoever they might be, if they say
Keita's brother,
and that's it. That's the end of the show. That's it.
Thank you, everybody. I mean, I think I like the fact that you can bring these guys in to change the game. I mean, it's good to have a bench that you feel like can change the game. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I remember like Bickler was saying, I mean, it's pretty bad when the Wolves bench looked better than our bench in terms of being able to bring players in and, like bring a different dimension for one. And not only that, keep the same thing going. If it's just tired legs you're subbing for in the 60th minute, not have a drop off and bring a guy maybe who cannot do what the guy you're taking out is. I mean, I look at this bench. I mean, there's a lot of people you can bring in to change the game, to change the pace. And you have guys like Milner and stuff like that too. If you want some more stability and stuff like that, you can just bring in because we've seen like and that's been the odd thing. We've seen like Basetic being taken out sometimes earlier, and then we ran Thiago into the ground playing him 90 minutes. But that should be, it's always like, it's not fully hindsight, I guess, because we've been saying this for weeks and it was due coming. But at the same time, it's one of those where maybe he feels, what's the guy coming in can do what Basetic was doing, but not what Thiago is doing. So it's going to be interesting to see. I am actually semi-excited about this midfield because I think he knows that we're going against a team. It's a Sean Dyche team that's going to basically go out and fight physically, especially. So you want a lineup out there that's kind of like gritty and who's going to run nonstop and to be able to keep up with that, because that's what Sean Dyche kind of brings. It's the new manager smell, but aside from that, it's his style too. It's just like a high energy, go kick everybody, like will them to your way kind of a deal. So I kind of like seeing Henderson and Fab out there. So how concerned or how optimistic about seeing Hendo and Fab are you? Because I see a lot of concern, but then you saw Kazi earlier saying they're back to normal, so you see some optimism too.
Yes.
You kind of say yes. I won't contradict myself.
I think it's like you mentioned. It's good to have the possibility of the physical play lends itself to the game of Hendo and Fabinho, and you need those guys who are able to lay in that tackle, able to be physical and just vocal too. Hendo does a good job of that. I mean, I know at his age now, he's not the Hendo that he once was, unfortunately. But he's still able to be that leader that's on the field. Just hope that he has at least 60 minutes in him, because we've seen a pretty big decline in his game, and unfortunately, he's been really exposed, I guess is what I've been trying to say. So I like the idea of them back together and having this sort of be the point where they might be able to play themselves back into form a little bit. And, it's one of those throw them both in together, have them live together or die together situations, right? I mean, that's kind of how I see it, is that these guys who have been playing next to each other for a long time, both struggling, let's see if they can get the best out of themselves together. And then if they can't, then, it's just where we were back to square one, where we just need the midfield help.
Yeah, because it was like in the press conference, he kind of like answered questions about Hendo as well. Because it was being singled out as the guy out of form, which I feel like actually like Fab has been probably a lot more poorer, if you will, compared to Hendo. But it was interesting that and he kind of like had a reaction to it, which I feel too. The fans have turned on some players very, very fast from like the glory days. But let's bring this guy in, who is at the pub over there. Gally, what's happening, man?
What's happening, guys? How are we doing?
We're doing good. So let's get your take real quick about this starting 11. What's your initial reaction to it?
Yeah, so I got to be honest. I'm not loving the midfield. I personally thought Keita would start in this match. I don't understand why he's here if he doesn't play in a match like this, that Thiago's not available. I feel like he's our best option on the left. And he dribbles at people, he creates, and that's exactly what we've been asking our midfield to do. And we have one less body out there that can do it now, which is a little strange to me.
Do you think it has the reason mainly is the fact that it's a derby game and you need the captain out there? Is that why Hendo is there? Like, is that the person you would replace for Keita, I guess, first of all?
No, I would have replaced Fabinho, to be honest.
Okay.
I absolutely expected Henderson to start this match. I think you need Henderson there for a derby like this, especially at home. I've noticed a drop-off not having either Henderson, in my opinion, or Milner on the pitch much in the last few matches. I I know I've said it before. I don't even love it when it's Van Dijk holding the armband. I like it even less when it's Robertson or Allison. I like having your leader in the middle of the pitch, and I like that Henderson leads all areas of the pitch, not just his group in the midfield.
Yes.
And I think you need that for this derby. I would have sat Trent, and I would have started Milner at right back, because I think you also need more defensive solidity for the one or two opportunities that present Everton a chance today. And I think there's less chance of Milner switching off than there is Trent. But I kind of I've talked myself into it, that I like having Trent start, because with Trent starting, I feel you have Milner to come in and actually close the game out at the right back position. And it'll be perfect, because that's right about when Henderson's going to need to come off the pitch as well, because he hasn't been playing 90 minutes. So maybe this was about making sure Milner and Hendo play the whole 90 minutes. I know it sounds stupid, but that's what I'm thinking.
We have Ben over here. He's very excited about the game. I can tell just by the comments over here. But so it's good. I mean, this is kind of like, I mean, I know especially like the rivalry and stuff, and I think I agree. That's why Hendo being out there is huge. I think what the gap you're mentioning kind of comes from the fact that you have a leader. You're going from a leader who's really vocal and in your face at all times, and you're trying to switch it to a different leader like in Van Dijk, who's more in the back and more like, calm as you like. And sometimes that does not translate, even if you're like a good leader. But as we get close to kickoff over here, Gally, give us our prediction.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with my original prediction, and I'm going to say 2-0 to Liverpool. And I just feel like it's an early goal, hopefully. Then we kind of wear out the Sean Dyche storm. And then finally, I'm hoping that it's just a absolute bleep-faced classic Jota pop up out of nowhere, score the killer. And I really, guys, like having Bobby and Jota on the bench just makes me feel better to go into watching this match, because I feel like this side actually has something it can do to make a change if it needs it. And I don't think we realize how much we've missed Jota, because he hasn't played since October. And I'm really, really thinking that Jota might be the key that hopefully unlocks Liverpool getting back. We've all been waiting for Diaz, but I actually think it might be more about Jota starting to score some of those goals that we haven't been getting for the last 3 months. And if that happens, I'm hoping it will trigger Mo feeling better, Darwin scoring, and just start, maybe even allow Gakpo to sit on the bench a little bit like he should be doing, and playing 10, 15 minutes a match instead of starting every single match since he's been here. So,
how was the bar over there? Is it getting crowded, or is it just a midweek affair? Well, it's a Monday, but still, it's a workday week.
This is one of those ones where my gut tells me there'll be more people here in the second half, ones that are able to kind of sneak out maybe around 4:00, where, unlike me, they didn't just put PTO on their calendar because they weren't going to do any work anyway. So I was just like, you're not booking any meetings here, people, because I'm not going to be responding to you.
Well, Gally, enjoy the game, man. Hopefully we'll come back with a good score after 90 minutes. Take care.
I'll see you tonight.
Yep, sir. Mateusz, let's get a prediction from you, man. I got Ben over here who's rooting for Everton and Arsenal and everybody else but Liverpool, looks like, in the comment section, going with a 2-1 with Nunez scoring an own goal. If he's an Everton fan, you kind of got a feel for him, because he is fighting relegation year after year, so that has to be a lot of stressful. If he's an Arsenal fan,
weighs you down.
Probably, it's squeaky bum time as City gets closer and closer, and objects in rear mirror are closer than they appear, kind of a situation. So I understand the stress, so you got to give him credit for that. But give us a prediction for today.
Okay, well, given that, with your favorite fantasy game, fantasy football, in the Premier League fantasy football, given that I transferred out Darwin this past week for Harry Kane, because
all right,
I was a little disappointed over the last few weeks, I am going to go with a Darwin brace. Everton wins 3-2. I'm kidding.
What the hell is that?
No. I think, okay, I know Kazi is probably, he's been drinking a little bit. He's maybe smoking a little bit something.
A little bit.
I know 4-0 seems a little radical. I'm going to go with 3-1. I feel like there's going to be some sort of goal that squeaks in on our end. Maybe in the second. I think it'll already be 2-0 by that point. And then, like Gally was saying, Jota will come in. I think he'll find one, kind of rejuvenate this side. So I'm going to go with 3-1.
I'll go with the 3-1. I kind of feel for it, feels like a 2-1 kind of game, but 3-1 definitely sounds better, and my doctor would approve. So it'll be a lot less stressful. So let's go with that. Well, Mitush, I'll catch up with you after the game, man. I'll definitely be back tonight for the podcast with that guy in the bar. Hopefully he'll sober up by then, along with Bickler, who's never sober. So we'll do the podcast tonight at our regular time of 7 Central, 8 Eastern. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy the game. And up the Reds. Let's get this, man. It's a big game. Like we were talking about the first thing in the morning. Let's get the 3 points. 3-1, 2-1, 4-1. I really don't care, but 3 points will be huge. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the game. Up the Reds. Let's go.